Good morning, students. In today's class, we will study about another important topic, that is population interaction. Okay, population interaction means how there is interaction between two different populations belonging to two different species. Okay, there is population, there is species 1 and there is species 2. There is a particular population. Here there is species 1 and here we have another species which we can refer it as species 2. Okay, now all the population belonging to the species 1 and the population belonging to species 2, how both of them interact with each other, that is known as population interaction. The name itself gives us the explanation how two different populations, for example, you take human beings as a population, we belong to one particular species, we can take a dog as another population belonging to another species. How we both interact with each other, that becomes population interaction. Similar way, how two different particular species, two different species or population of two different species, how they interact with each other, that is known as population interaction. Now, population interaction could be beneficial to both the species, harmful to both the species, beneficial to one species whereas harmful to another species. Okay, or there is no harm, neither there is harm or nor there is benefit for both the species. So interaction could be of different types. Okay, so we say interaction may be of three different types. Okay, beneficial interaction. Interaction may be first beneficial. Beneficial means it could be beneficial either for species 1 or species 2 or both of them. Okay, beneficial when I say helpful. Okay, when both two species are interacting with each other, this interaction could be beneficial. When I say beneficial, it is helpful. It is beneficial or helpful to either species 1 or species 2 or both of them. Okay, so this is also referred as a positive effect. Okay, this is also referred as positive effect and it is always symbolized as plus. Okay, so this is the symbol that we use in order to represent beneficial or positive effect. Okay, this is the symbol plus. That means the species 1 is interacting with species 2. Here either species 1 is benefited or species 2 is benefited or both of them are benefited. Okay, so this beneficial interaction is also known as positive effect. It is symbolized with this particular plus symbol. Okay, the second type of interaction may be harmful interaction. Okay, when I say harmful interaction, if two species are interacting with each other, species 1 and species 2 are interacting with each other, the interaction is either harmful to species 1 or it is harmful to species 2 or it is harmful to both of them. Okay, so this particular interaction is known as harmful interaction. This is known as negative effect because here either one of the species or both the species are being harmed. Okay, so it is referred as negative effect. So it is clear, it is quite clear that we use the symbol minus in order to explain this particular negative effect. Okay, the next type is neutral interaction, that means if two species are interacting with each other, there is no benefit or any particular harm to both the species. Okay, when two species are interacting with each other, neither there is any harm nor there is any benefit to these two species. Such type of interaction is known as neutral. Okay, when there is interaction, it is kind of neutral. Neither the species are benefited nor they are harmed. Okay, such type of interaction are known as neutral. For all the different types of interaction, I will be giving you certain examples when we study different types of interaction one by one. So this is represented as no effect. Okay, here there is no effect, here it is positive effect, here it is negative effect, here it is no effect. Okay, so you can use the symbol 0 in order to represent the neutral interaction. Okay, so what did we study? Now population interaction. When two different population belonging to two different particular species, they interact with each other, it is known as population interaction. When we live in an ecosystem, every species live in association with some other species. Every species will interact with another particular species. We human beings are a part of the ecosystem. In our day-to-day life, we interact with so many other species. We come across, starting from a small microorganisms, we come across, or we interact with larger animals also or larger plants also. So how we interact with each other, that becomes the population interaction. Population interaction could be of three types. It is beneficial interaction, that means it is either benefited to species 1 or benefited to species 2 or benefited to both the species. Harmful, it is either harmful to species 1 or harmful to species 2 or harmful to both of them. Neutral, neither the species are benefited nor they are harmed in this particular interaction. So this can be represented with the symbol 0. Okay, so let's study about different types of population interaction. Now, let's study about different types of population interaction. Now, I will take species A. It could be any species because we have, we have multiple varieties of living organisms. Amongst that, I am taking a species A. It could be any species. I can't give you a particular example for that. I am taking species B, and we will write the name for the interaction that happens between them. Okay, so let's study about different types of population interaction. Here I am taking, here we are considering two species, and we will write what are the different possibilities of interaction that can happen between them. Okay, species A, if we will write the type of interaction in the beginning. Then we will write what is the type of interaction that takes place between species A and species B. First, let me write this type of interaction known as mutualism. Okay, mutualism. The word itself explains mutual. Mutual means you help me, I will help you. That type of interaction is known as mutualism. That means I will be helping one species, that other species will be helping me. So here, this is a type of interaction between species A and species B, where both the species are benefited. Species A will help species B, whereas species B will help species A. Here both the species are benefited. Okay, such type of interaction is known as mutualism. Okay, next Next type of interaction is known as competition. Okay, competition is such interaction in which species A will be competing with species B for a particular resource. Okay, species A will be competing or fighting with species B for a particular resource. It could be, we will take an example for, of food. Okay, for food, species A is competing with species B. So what happens during competition? What is the type of interaction? Here, both the species are negatively affected or both the species are harmed. In mutualism, both the species are helping each other, so it is a positive effect. Here in competition, both the species are fighting with each other for a particular resource where both are harmed, okay, or both are negatively affected. So we are making use of the symbol minus here. Okay, next type of interaction is predation. Predation, as you all know, organisms belonging to higher trophic level, they feed on the organisms of lower trophic level. For example, a tiger eats a sheep. So tiger is of higher trophic level, so tiger is known as a predator. Whereas when the tiger eats the sheep, that is known as a prey. Okay. So predation is a process where a predator eats the or feed on a prey. Okay, predation is a process where predator feeds on the prey. I will not repeat myself, okay, because when I talk about predation, when I give you certain example and when I use the term predator and prey, you should be able to understand or you should be able to recall that predators are the organisms of higher trophic level who will feed on prey who are the organisms of lower trophic level. For example, a tiger feeds on a sheep. Okay, so tiger is a predator, sheep is a prey. Okay, this belongs to higher trophic level, whereas sheep belongs to lower trophic level. Now let's consider tiger as species A and sheep as species B. Okay, let's consider tiger as species A, sheep as species B. Now, what is the type of symbol we can use for predation? Here, who is benefited out of tiger and sheep? Tiger is benefited because it is getting its food. So, one species is benefited whereas sheep is being killed. So, they are being negatively affected or harmed. Okay, here tiger is benefited, sheep is harmed. So, tiger we can represent it with a plus symbol because it is being benefited. Sheep can be represented with a negative symbol because it is being harmed. Okay. So, in predation, one organism eats the other organism, or in other words, a predator eats the prey. Okay. So, predator is positively benefited whereas prey is negatively harmed. Okay. So, the next type of interaction is parasitism. Okay, parasitism. Okay, let's take an example of Ascaris lumbricoids. We have studied this Ascaris lumbricoids in our chapter Human Health and Disease. Ascaris lumbricoids is a roundworm which will be present in the human intestine. Okay, so what is the disease caused by this Ascaris lumbricoids in human beings? It is known as ascariasis. Okay, so this organism known as Ascaris lumbricoids they enter human body and they cause disease. Which disease? Disease known as ascariasis. Okay, we have already studied the symptoms of the disease and how it spreads and all. So let's not go in detail. Just we will know that Ascaris lumbricoides is a so it's a roundworm which causes this disease known as ascariasis in human beings. So this is a pathogen, right? Because it is causing a disease in a host or a human being. So this can be considered as a parasite. Parasite is any organism who will cause a disease in another organism. Okay, parasite is any particular organism who will cause disease in another organism. So what is the human in this case? Human is a host. You take any pathogen. Okay, filariasis. We can take example of Wucheria bancrofti and Wucheria malayi. Okay, they are the filarial worms who will again enter the human body and they will cause a disease called as filariasis. Right? They will, they cause this disease known as filariasis or elephantiasis. So in this case, again human beings are the host, whereas Wucheria bancrofti and Wucheria malayi, these two filarial worms are known as parasites or pathogens. Okay, so this type of interaction is known as parasitism. Here Ascaris lumbricoides is infecting a human being and causing this disease known as ascariasis. So here Ascaris lumbricoides is known as a parasite. Human beings are known as host. If we consider Ascaris lumbricoids as species A and human beings as species B, then who is benefited here? In this case, Ascaris lumbricoids is species A. They are benefited because they enter the human body, they take nutrition from the human body, they find shelter in the human body. Okay, they live inside the human body, they find human body as their shelter, they take nutrition from human body. So who is benefited? The species A is benefited, whereas human beings are the host. They are known as species B in this case. So how, what is the interaction that it is experiencing with species A? It is negatively benefited because it is developing a disease. Okay, so again it is a minus sign. Even in parasitism, one parasite will affect the host. It is benefited because it is getting food and shelter from the host, whereas the host will be negatively affected or host is harmed because host is developing a disease. Okay, so this is known as parasitism. Then we'll move on to the next type of population interaction, which is commensalism. Commensalism is a type of interaction where one species is positive. There is an interaction between two species. One species is positively benefited. The one species is benefited, whereas the other species is neither benefited nor harmed. So we can use the symbol 0. I will give you example when we go to this particular topic, commensalism. Then the last type of interaction is amensalism. Amensalism is a type of interaction where if there is an interaction between two species, one species is negatively affected, whereas the other species is neither benefited nor harmed. Okay, I have given multiple examples for all different types of interaction. We will study, look into those examples when we go, topic by topic. Okay, so commensalism is a type of interaction where there is, interaction between two species, where one species is positively affected where the other species is neutral. There is no effect at all. In amensalism, one species is negatively affected, whereas the other species is neither benefited nor harmed. These are the different types of population interaction. If you look into your 2020 biology question paper, there is a question based on this population interaction. They have given certain examples and they have asked for the respective type of interaction. They have given certain examples where they gave the interaction between two species, okay, and they have asked you to write the type of interaction. Okay, if you look into the 2020 biology question paper, you will be able to spot this particular question. So this topic is very, very important from your exam point of view. Okay, so all the different types of interactions could be asked, or one particular interaction could be asked for 2 marks, 3 marks or 5 marks. Okay, so this is all about population interaction. Now we will move on to our PPT projector, where I will give you certain examples for these different types of interactions. This is a chart again showing population interaction. We have already dealt with it. Okay, here we have species A, species B, and here we have name of interaction. Mutualism, where there are two plus symbols, it indicates both the species are positively affected. Competition, negative minus symbol, so it says, it indicates both the species are negatively affected. Predation, one species is positively affected, the other one is negatively affected. Parasitism, one is again positively affected, the other one is negatively affected. Commensalism, where one is positively affected, the other one is neither affected, neither benefited nor harmed, or no effect. In amensalism, one species is negatively affected, the other is, there is no effect in the other species. Here we have explanation for predation, and also there are certain examples. Okay, I have already explained what is predation. Predation is organisms of higher trophic level known as predators feed on organism of lower trophic level or prey is called as predation. I told you, when a tiger feeds on a sheep, tiger becomes the predator, sheep becomes the prey. Both belonging to different trophic levels. Okay, these terms should not be forgotten. Okay, the organism of higher trophic level are represented as predator. You can consider tiger in this case. They feed on organism of lower trophic level. Okay, prey in this case you can consider deer or a sheep. Okay, in the form of a prey. So this is called as predation. Even the herbivores are not very different from predators. Now, this sentence says, even a sheep is a predator. In my example, tiger was a predator, sheep was a prey. But this sentence says, even the sheep is a predator. How? Sheep feeds on grass. So, if we consider sheep of a higher trophic level and grass of a lower trophic level, then sheep is feeding on grass. So even the sheep becomes a predator, because sheep is feeding on grass. Grass is a lower trophic level. It can be considered as a prey. Whereas if the sheep is eating the grass, sheep can be considered as predator. Sheep is a herbivore because the organism who eats only herbs. Okay, so even herbivores can be represented as predators. A deer. Deer also eats leaf of a plant. Alright, so deer belongs to higher trophic level, whereas leaves belong to, or a plant belongs to lower trophic level. And the deer is feeding on the plant. Okay, deer is a predator, whereas the plant can be represented as a prey. Why this predation is very important? Okay, why in our ecosystem this predation has to be present? Predator acts as a passage for transfer of energy across trophic level. We have studied about food chain or food web, right? In food chain, we need organisms in different trophic level so that the energy can transfer from one trophic level to other trophic level. If a deer is eating grass, the energy from the grass is transferred to the deer. If the deer is eaten by a tiger, the energy from the deer is transported to the tiger. So in order to pass the energy across different trophic level, this predation is very, very important. Okay. Now predators keep prey population under control. This is also called as biological control. Okay. If predation is not, present in the nature, predation is a process which happens naturally in our environment. When the earth or ecosystem was made, it was made in such a way that there are organisms belonging to different trophic level, and higher trophic level organisms, they feed on lower trophic level organism. Why this is required? In order to maintain a balance. Imagine if there are no tigers, no lions, no hyenas eating on the organisms of lower trophic level like sheep, deer, or whatever it is, cattle. What happens to the organisms of, what happens to the number of the organisms of lower trophic level? They increase to a greater extent. Okay, their number will keep on increasing. Okay, the number of prey, if there are no predators, imagine the number of prey will keep on increasing. There is no end, there is no limitation for the number of this particular prey. If there are predators, only then the number of preys will be limited. Okay, so this maintains a balance in the ecosystem. This is known as biological control. Exotic species have no natural predators, hence they grow very rapidly. Okay, so here we can take an example of prickly pear. Prickly pear cactus, introduced in Australia, created this problem which was solved by introducing the cactus feeding moth. Okay, I have not given the picture here. Now exotic species have no natural predators. Okay, what are exotic species? Exotic species are the species, I'll give you an example for this. You have gone to some other country, you felt a plant very attractive, so you brought that particular plant from that country to your country. Okay, and this plant that you have brought from other country is, it is not meant to grow in your country, it is meant to grow in the other country itself. Okay, but you have brought it here. Now when you grow this plant in a new environment, this plant will not have a predator. Okay, there will be no natural predator for this particular plant, because in your locality there are certain predators who will feed on certain particular plants. But the plant that you have brought is completely new to this environment, so this plant does not have a natural predator who will feed on this. Okay, whereas this plant has natural predators in its native place. Okay, this plant has a predator but in its native place. But in the for the new place where you have brought this plant, there is no natural predator or there is no animal who will come and feed on this particular plant. At that particular time, what happens? Since there are no predators, this particular plant will stop. It will start spreading. Okay, throughout the locality. Okay, this particular plant will spread throughout the locality because there are no predators to feed on this particular plant. Okay, this is also this will also create an imbalance in the nature. Example, again, if you want to read, exotic species have no, exotic species means the plant which is not the plant which you have brought from some other place or from some other country to a new habitat are known as exotic species. they don't have natural predators because you are bringing it for the first time. There are no predators who will eat on this particular plant. Okay, so they grow very rapidly. If you take an example, prickly pear cactus, okay, the Opuntia. We have studied about Opuntia in our, this is Opuntia. This is also known as prickly pear cactus. Okay, so this cactus, okay, this cactus was introduced in Australia. That particular cactus was not present in Australia. Okay, so it was introduced in Australia for the first time. I told you, this species will not be present in one particular country. You bring it from some other country and you grow it. That becomes an exotic species. Similar way, prickly pear cactus was brought into Australia for the first time. Since there were no predators to eat on this particular prickly pear cactus, it started spreading. Okay, it started spreading in such a way that you could see prickly pear cactus wherever you go in that particular locality. So, in order to control the population of this prickly pear cactus, what was done was a cactus feeding moth was artificially introduced in the country. Okay, the country people could not control the growth of this prickly pear cactus because there were no predators. I told you, only when there is predators, the prey population will be in control. Since there was no predator, it was growing very rapidly, it was spreading very rapidly. So what the government had done was, they introduced a cactus feeding moth. That means a moth who will specifically feed on cactus, because this prickly pear cactus is it's Opuntia, which is again it comes in cactus family. Okay, they introduced a moth which specifically ate this particular cactus. Then the number of this prickly pear cactus reduced. Okay. Now, predators also help in maintaining species diversity in a community by reducing the intensity of competition among competing prey species. Now, what happens is, predation also help in maintaining species diversity. Okay, in order to maintain species diversity, predation is very important. How? They will reduce the intensity of competition among competing prey species. Now imagine there are almost 100 deers in a particular locality, and there are only certain plants to grow, to be there are only certain plants for these deer to feed on. Then there will be competition between a community itself. Okay, hope you are able to get my point. There are 100 deers in one particular locality in a population, and there are only certain plants on which these deers can feed on. Then there will be too much of competition between these deer population, as on who will go and eat that particular plant. Now if there is a prey for this deer, that means a tiger is coming and killing almost 50 deers, then the competition level decreases. Initially there were 100 deers fighting for particular plants, certain number of plants. Now the number has been reduced to 50%. Now there are only 50 deers in that particular population. So this predation is not always bad. Predation also maintains species diversity. It will reduce the competition which is happening between the prey species. Okay. In the absence of predators, prey could achieve a high population density and cause ecosystem instability. Imagine there are no tigers to feed on this particular deer. There are no tigers, there are no lions to feed on deer population. Then the deer population will increase so much that there will be ecosystem instability. Our ecosystem stability will be lost. If predators overexploits the prey, then the prey might become extinct, and eventually the predators also will be extincted due to lack of food. Okay, this is also a very important point which says feeding is okay, but if the predators are feeding on the prey, to a greater extent, or over-exploiting means overeating. Okay, if the predators start eating the prey population more and more, that is above the required level, then the prey population will become extinct. Imagine the tiger starts eating all the deers present in a particular forest. The deer population from that particular forest will become extinct. There is no deer population. Then what happens to the predator, which is tiger? Eventually the tiger will also become extinct because there is no food for the tiger. Okay, so it's a link. The predator has to keep the prey community in a balance, prey population in a balance. Similar way, the prey population should also be limited so that these predators can feed on it at a required level. If the predator starts eating more and more prey, then the prey community will become extinct. Eventually, the predators will also become extinct because there is no food for the predators. Okay, so stability is always required. A balance is always required. Considering that there are more prey in the forest, the predators cannot feed on all the prey. Okay, there has to be a stability between everything. Only then there is proper food chain and ecosystem stability will be there. Okay, so predators will also be extincted due to lack of food. Now, in order to protect themselves from the predators, prey has developed certain adaptations. Okay, so there are certain defense mechanism developed by the prey in order to protect themselves from the predators. Okay, how a prey will protect themselves from predators? Here I have given certain examples. Animals. Let's take animals. How the prey will protect themselves from the predator. Insects and frogs are cryptically colored to avoid being detected by the predators. If you know, it is also known as camouflaged. Okay, there are certain insects and certain frogs who are cryptically colored. Cryptically colored means they will have their body color, which is very much similar to the environment, or which is very much similar to the place where we are living. I'll show you the picture. If you see here, this is a frog living on a tree bark. This is a tree on which the frog is living. If you look at the color of the tree, if you look at the bark and the color of the frog, skin color of the frog, both are similar. Okay, this is known as cryptically colored or camouflaged. Okay, frog is trying to adjust their or maintain their body color, which is close to their surrounding environment. Okay, they are maintaining their body color as same as their surrounding environment. So that, why they are doing this? Why the frog color is similar to the color of the tree bark? Why the frog has developed this color? In order to protect themselves from the predators. Okay, if a snake is coming to eat this frog, if a snake is in search of food, this frog is cryptically colored. It is of the same color as the tree bark. The snake will not be able to identify the frog. Okay, so this is known as cryptically colored or camouflaged. Okay, similar way there are certain insects also. As example, specifically your locusts, they have the color of exactly of the tree bark. Okay, why? Because if they sit on the tree bark, then it will not be spotted by any predators. Okay, similar way, this frog is a prey who could be eaten by a snake. If the snake is coming in search of food, it cannot spot the particular frog because it is camouflaged. Okay, it cannot make out that a frog is sitting here. This is known as cryptically colored or camouflage. This is one of the defense developed by a prey in order to protect themselves from the predators. Okay, so insects and frogs are cryptically colored to avoid being detected by the predators. Some are poisonous and therefore avoided by the predators. Certain plants, if you see, they will be poisonous. Okay, so why are they poisonous? Because in order to avoid eating by the predators, few plants will be, they will be poisonous. Generally, we say, if you eat a particular plant that will, that is slightly toxic, so it should be avoided. So the animals know which are these, poisonous plants. So there are certain animals also, okay, who are poisonous, and they will be avoided by the predators. Next, if you see an example, there is a butterfly known as monarch butterfly. Okay, this is known as monarch butterfly. It is a bright, beautiful butterfly. Usually, this is so attractive that predators feel like coming and eating them. Okay, there could be some birds, or there could be some snakes, there could be frogs who will be interested in eating this particular, butterfly. But no birds, their predator is majorly bird. Okay, usually birds, they eat this particular butterfly, but this butterfly is not eaten by a bird because it is very distasteful. Okay, distasteful means it does not have good taste. Okay, if a predator, let's take a bird. Bird is the predator for this butterfly, which is a prey. If a bird is coming and trying to eat this particular butterfly, this butterfly tastes so bad that the bird will not be interested in eating this particular butterfly. This is not, this is a kind of mechanism or a defense that this particular butterfly has developed in order to avoid being eaten by the bird. Okay, this is a technique they developed, making their body very distasteful. Okay, so this is a mechanism developed by them in order to avoid being eaten by the predator, which is a bird. How did this develop, such, body taste? Okay, how this body, this distasteful body was developed? Because when they are in caterpillar stage, this is the adult butterfly stage. Before this, adult stage, they will be in a caterpillar stage. At that particular caterpillar stage, they will feed on a poisonous weed. They will be, and when they are in the caterpillar stage, they will be eating a particular poisonous weed. There is a weed which is poisonous. They will feed on this particular poisonous weed. They will take that poison from the weed. They will, then they will develop into a adult butterfly. Because of this poison, okay, or the chemical acquired from this particular poisonous weed, okay, they will take this chemical from this poisonous weed. Because of this chemical, their body is distasteful. Okay, so this is a type of defense developed by the prey, which is a monarch butterfly. This butterfly, to its predator. We'll read it again. Monarch is highly distasteful to its predator due to presence of special chemical in its body. Okay, there is a presence of special chemical in its body. Because of the presence of that particular chemical, it is, it tastes very bad. How did it, deposit that particular chemical in its body? Because when it was in caterpillar stage, it was feeding on a poisonous weed. From that particular weed, it has taken the chemical. Okay, now these are the certain defense developed by prey against predators. Here it's about animal community. Let's talk about different defense developed by the plants. Okay, the major one you all know, in order to avoid being eaten by the predators, generally plants will develop thorns. Okay, thorns in acacia. This is acacia. Okay, a plant which which produce bright yellow color flowers. If you see, these are the thorns present on the particular plant. Okay, this acacia tree. These, if you look at the thorns, they are very hard and they are very sharp. Okay, they have very sharp tip. Okay, so this particular plant is known as acacia. Okay, they have developed thorns. Also, cactus. We know we have already seen the picture of cactus. They develop thorns. Okay, which are the morphological means of defense. Okay, so that will be present on the plant surface in order to avoid the predators. Many plants produce and store some chemical which make the herbivore sick if eaten, inhibit feeding, digestion, disrupt reproduction, even kill the predators. Certain plants, what they do is, they will store some chemicals in their body, okay, which will actually make the herbivores. Herbivores means the animals which feed on only plants. They don't eat any animals like sheep, cow. They are all herbivores. Okay. So these herbivores will become sick if they eat this particular plants because they have certain chemicals in their body. Now they will make the herbivore sick if eaten, or it will inhibit feeding. It will so once the herbivore has eaten this particular plant, it will inhibit feeding. That means it will not come back to the same plant again. It will never eat the same plant because it knows it is storing some chemical in its body. Digestion disrupt, or if the herbivore is eating this particular plant, or if they are eating this particular chemical, it will destroy their digestive system. Okay, reproduction, or it will harm their reproduction, even kill the predators. There are certain plants, if they are eaten by certain herbivores, then it might sometimes kill the herbivores because of the chemicals they store in their body, or they can inhibit feeding, or the digestive system will disrupt, or the reproduction process will be affected of the herbivores. Okay, Calotropis produces poisonous cardiac glycosides against herbivores. Okay, Calotropis, generally known as Ekka. Okay, in Kannada we call it as Ekka, Ekkagida. Okay, so this particular plant, if you know, they produce a latex or a milk kind of secretion from their, from their leaf. Okay, so this particular that milk or the latex that is coming, it is poisonous because it carries cardiac glycosides in it. Cardiac glycosides mean if that secretion is eaten by herbivores, if any animals are trying to eat this particular Calotropis plant, then if they by mistake they eat this particular the latex, then it acts as cardiac glycosides. That means it increases the heart rate of that particular herbivores. Okay, so that is also a kind of defense developed by Calotropis in order to avoid the predators. Then other examples are nicotine, which is generally found in tobacco, caffeine, quinine, strychnine, opium. Okay, opium is the drug we have already studied. These are actually the defense mechanism developed by producing this nicotine content, caffeine content, quinine, strychnine, opium, etc. They are the kind of defense the plant is developing in order to avoid the predators. But we are making use of all these things for our own benefit. Okay, so they are produced by plant actually as defenses against the grazers and browsers who will come and graze the particular plants. Okay, so the predation is good, okay, only to a certain extent. The predation also has a limitation, okay, and there are certain mechanism developed by the prey community in order to avoid overgrazing by the predators. Okay, the next type of the interaction is competition, as you all know. Competition, if you look into the explanation, it generally occurs when closely related species compete for the same resources that are limiting. competition is fighting between two different species. Okay, competition also can be a fighting between, amongst the people or organisms or individuals belonging to the same species. Competition, not necessary that it has to be always between two different species. It can be amongst the individuals of the same species also. When two individuals fight for the same resource, then it becomes competition. Okay, competition generally occurs when closely related species compete for the same resources that are limiting. There is one prey, which is a deer. There are, there's a tiger community and a lion community. Both of them, they belong to different species. This is Panthera tigris, this is Panthera leo. Okay, both are fighting for a single deer. That becomes competition. Okay, when two species, closely related species, when they are fighting for the same resource, that becomes competition. It may exist between same species, interspecific competition, okay, or between individuals of different species, which is known as intraspecific competition. There are two types of competition: interspecific competition or intraspecific competition. Interspecific competition means there is a sheep and there are two tigers fighting for the same sheep. That becomes interspecific. Both the tigers belong to the same species. They fight for a resource. That becomes interspecific competition. There is intraspecific competition. That means there is a deer, which is a resource. There is a tiger and there is a lion. Both belong to different species. When they both fight for this resource, that becomes intraspecific. Intra, in between two species. A tiger is one species, lion is another species. Both of them are fighting for one resource. This becomes intraspecific. Interspecific means when a tiger fights with a tiger, when a lion fights with a lion, when a hyena fights with a hyena, when a fox fights with a fox. It becomes interspecific. Intra means when a hyena fights with a fox, when a tiger fights with a lion. That becomes intraspecific competition. Okay, when competition happens between species, that is interspecific competition. Firstly, totally unrelated species could also compete for the same resources. Okay, there are totally different species. A hyena might be competing with a lion. They are completely different species. Tiger and lion, they are of closely related species because they come under one genus, that is Panthera. Right? Whereas a hyena is completely different species, lion is a completely different species. They also, they both also can fight for one particular resource. That also can be considered as intraspecific competition. Okay, so interspecific competition, that means when a tiger is fighting with a tiger, competing with a tiger, tiger is competing with a tiger, that becomes interspecific. Intraspecific means when a tiger fights with a lion. Here also there is another type of intraspecific where a hyena can fight with a lion. Okay. So we'll look into certain examples. This American lake visiting flamingos. Okay, flamingo is a type of bird. You might be familiar with this particular bird. Okay, so this flamingo generally they go to lakes and they will feed on zooplanktons. Okay, imagine there is a lake. There is a lake known as American. Okay, in this American lake there are plenty of zooplanktons. There are certain zooplanktons. Zooplanktons means small organisms, smaller animals which are just floating on the water. Okay, so there are certain zooplanktons. Now, these zooplanktons should be eaten by the fish which are present in that particular lake. That is the actual concept. Right? There is a lake. There are zooplanktons in that particular lake. these zooplankton should be eaten by the resident fishes. That means the fishes living in that particular lake itself. However, flamingo, this bird known as flamingo, they also come to this lake and they will feed on the same zooplankton. So there is a competition between the resident fish and the flamingo bird. Okay, here. So American lake visiting flamingos and resident fishes compete for the common food, which is zooplanktons. There is always a competition between flamingos and the resident fishes. Resident fishes means the fishes which are already residing in that particular lake. Okay, these fishes will think that these zooplanktons belong to them because they are the actual owners, because they live in that particular lake. However, when the flamingos come and eat or feed on these zooplanktons, there is a competition between these flamingos and the resident fishes. Secondly, resources need not be limiting for competition to occur. Okay, here this example why I have given you flamingos and the resident fishes, this is in order to explain that totally unrelated species also can compete for the same resource. Okay, because fishes, they belong to the Pisces group, right? They are Pisces, whereas flamingos are birds which are aves. They are totally different species fighting for one particular resource. Okay, so this is the example for this particular intraspecific competition. Okay, the examples of flamingos and resident fishes I gave you in order to explain how totally unrelated species can also fight for the same resource. Okay, because there are fishes in the lake. These fishes will fight with some birds. Fishes are completely different and birds are totally different. They both will fight for one particular resource which is zooplanktons. Okay, so here firstly we studied totally unrelated species also compete for the same resource. Secondly, resources need not be limiting for competition to occur. That means not necessary that the resources that these competitors are feeding on, they are very limited. Even though the amount of resource is more, still the competition can happen. Okay, even though the amount or the number of resource is more, still competition can happen between two different species. Okay, not necessary that only when the resources are limited the competition will happen. No, even though the limitation is, imagine there is one tiger and one lion. There are almost 10 deers. Okay, it is very much sufficient for one deer and one tiger and one lion. Still, they both will fight. Okay, so that explains that resources need not be limiting for competition to occur. Still, the tiger and lion can fight. Okay. Now, another example, for competition is Abingdon tortoise. It's a kind of very large tortoise with a large neck. They are present in Galapagos Islands. Okay, this island called as Galapagos Islands. Okay, they became extinct within a decade after goats were introduced on the island due to greater browsing ability. Imagine there was an island known as Galapagos Island. Okay, where these Abingdon tortoise, where you can just Google it. These tortoises are very large tortoise. They were present on Galapagos Island peacefully. Okay, in the island, the number of Abingdon tortoise were more. Okay, because they had sufficient food in the island. This island was introduced with this certain number of goats. Okay, when the goats were introduced, the grazing capacity of goats. They graze almost all the plants, and the grass which was available on that particular island. Okay, due to that reason, due to overgrazing, this tortoise became extinct from the island. Okay, this was totally extincted from this particular Galapagos Island. They became extinct within a decade. it's 10 years. After goats were introduced on the islands. Okay, a few people, they introduced certain goats into this particular island due to greater browsing ability. The goats were grazing and browsing all the plants and the grass available on the island, so that the Abingdon tortoise was getting very less amount of food, so they became extinct once the goats were introduced in the island. Okay, so these are certain examples for competition. There are different concepts or different principles that could be studied under competition. Okay, we will study all these principles and different concepts of competition in our next class. Thank you.